Hello, everyone. Welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure. All Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. You can post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @Pless. Here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. That certainly applies to the large cap tech stocks like the Mag 7 stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index. SPY is the ETF version of an index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with the ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index, and the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading. And the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day as well as the directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the asset and the way you like to trade. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Hello, Dan. Welcome. Glad you're here. And Sotorazi reminds us that Jerome Powell will be speaking. He is speaking right now, as far as I know. Started speaking at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Here's my agenda for today, Wednesday, April 16th. First of all, I want to cover news items, economic data, and events for today, as well as the remaining rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. Then I'll get to the live market. When I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, so I want to set the stage, talk about news items. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. We'll review how traders have been reacting to news in the morning, how options traders are positioning themselves. Then we'll get to the live market. All right, let's get started with news items, economic data, and events. And let's take a look at the S&P 500 futures in Bookmap. This is the S futures. I've zoomed out, so I'm showing overnight action as well as price action during the regular trading hours. I'll zoom in just a minute. All right, so let's talk about news items today. So first of all, the expected news. This morning was VIX expiration, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Also at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, retail sales came out. That was equal to expectations, greater than the previous number, and it looked like some shoppers were front-running tariffs, especially with autos. So going forward next month, retail sales could paint a different picture. All right, I'm sure everyone is aware of the news regarding NVIDIA. NVIDIA announced a $5.5 billion write-off of inventory of chips, the H2O chips that were designed for China. Apparently, there are going to be more restrictions on their sale of these chips to China, so they have announced a write-off. And that happened after the close yesterday and before the futures reopened at 6 p.m. So NVIDIA dropped lower, and then the futures dropped lower after that. And then adding additional fuel to that fire, ASML overnight reported lower than expected bookings for Q1. All right, so that was the news for yesterday and today. Coming up tomorrow is options expiration due to the holiday on Friday. Also, Netflix does report earnings after the market close. We'll get to the live market as soon as possible. Let's take a quick look at options expiration for Thursday, I'm sorry. This is the options expiration for tomorrow, Thursday. Blue bars are showing put delta notional, negative delta notional. This is market maker's position. Orange bar is showing call delta notional, positive delta notional. So you can see this is a put dominated options expiration. And in a normal environment, when those puts expire on expiration, that could lead to a potential rally. When traders are long puts, market makers are short puts. They're short futures, short stock. And as those puts expire, they can buy back their short hedges in the current environment. And that might not be the case. Probably not, since the market is so dependent on news. All right, so that is the options expiration. Tomorrow, again, today was fixed expiration. All right, so that's the news. And overall, bearish environment still. All right, let's take a look. Let's go to positional analysis now. Again, start with the SP 500. This is the ES Futures and Bookmap, showing overnight price action. Kind of an odd double bottom overnight, right down to this SPX combo 2 level. And it looks like the SP 500 has now broken down below that level. Again, that overnight low. And I'm not sure what this was. This was, again, before the cash open. I did not really search for news, but it was a sharp move higher, a lot of aggressive buyers. And then S&P 500 has pretty much reversed since then. All right, let's zoom in now on regular trading hours to see the levels in play. All right, so at the open, there are a couple of SPY levels in play for today. This is a combo 4 level, SPY combo 4 level, and then also the corresponding SPX combo level just above that, acting as resistance. Then a SPY level acting as support. We'll take a look at the SPY chart in just a minute. And then it looks like ES traded up to 5,400. That is ES 5,400. And now is breaking down below the overnight lows down to, looks like SPX 5,300. All right, so before I spend more time on this chart, let's take a look at a higher time frame. I'm going to go to, let's go ahead and go to a 1 hour chart here. This is a 30-day 1 hour chart. And remember, I talked about on Monday last week, the 4,800 overnight low, and then during the cash session, 48.35 low. Looks like this is the tariff liberation day, gap down. And of course, SPX has not been able to break above that level, now making a series of lower highs. All right, let's take a look at levels on this chart. First of all, the expected moves. Expected moves for the week, shown with the dashed purple line. Based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. Then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. Also based on the options market, this is based on the closing price from yesterday. I do post those levels in Discord every day. And now SPX trading firmly below the lower daily expected move. Gap down. We'll take a closer look at the one-day price action in just a moment. 1 minute price action. All right, let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. These are the dark red lines. They are based on gamma-weighted open interest. They're provided to Spotgamma subscribers. No changes from Monday, from yesterday, and Monday. No changes. Actually, yesterday there were no changes. There were changes on Monday. All right. So anyway, the no changes today. The absolute gamma strike is at 5,000. That's a strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. And above that is the put wall at 5,200. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And above that is the volatility trigger at 58.25. That is Spotgamma's proprietary gamma and volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their dollar exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility when market makers are trading with price. They're selling on the way down, buying on the way up. And that is certainly the case today with SPX in a firmly negative gamma environment well below the volatility trigger. And then the call wall is at 6,000. That's a strike with largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as support resistance. And of course, that level not in play. So potential floor for price at 5,200 and a potential ceiling at 6,000. And let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1 minute chart. Sorry, a little stuck there. So it looks like this drop started when Jerome Powell started to speak at 1:30. This big drop. All right, so here's the lower daily expected move for SPX. Again, SPX trading below that level. And then a combo 2 level, 53.09. Again, that acted as support during the extended overnight hours, and now looks like maybe acting as resistance as SPX is broken down below that level. Let's take a quick look at SPY. Again, this is a 1 minute chart. Red shaded, dark shaded portion to the right is the price action for today. Let's just zoom in on that for just a second so we can see that a little bit more closely. So chop up and down around the lower daily expected move, and then a breakdown below the previous lows for the overnight session. Let's take a look at SPY. There were a couple of SPY levels in play this morning. There's that combo level up above acting as resistance. And then the 530 level. That's a large gamma 4 level acting as support this morning. All right, back to Bookmap now. Again, ES Futures and Bookmap. And I watch both the SPX and SPY levels on this chart. Zoom just a little bit. Here we'll go. All right, so again, here's the SPY and SPX combo levels acting as resistance just after the cash open. Nice entry point for a short this morning. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. And then a breakdown at 5,400. And then the sharp break lower at 130 when Powell started speaking. Heading down, it looks like, toward the SPY 525 put wall. All right, so that is the S&P 500 futures levels in play. And the SPX put wall 5,200 is still well down below. Could be in play in the next day or two. All right, so that's the S&P 500. I talked about there were no shifts in levels for the SPX compared to yesterday. And for SPY, the volatility trigger did shift lower. So minor shift lower in the SPY and the S&P 500. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. Go to the NQ Futures and Bookmap. Here's that double bottom during the overnight trading. Sharp move higher and then down ever since again. Now, the NQ dropping pretty sharply as Jerome Powell is speaking. All right, let's take a quick look at the underlying index charts so we can isolate levels for QQQ and NDX. Here's QQQ first. 450, large gamma 2 level. Price action up and down around that level earlier today, and then a combo level, combo 2 level just above that. And 445.13, that's another combo level. Let's take a look at NDX. Combo level. Price action up and down around that level. And then the 130 breakdown. And price was already trending lower. Down to another combo of the 18,270. All right, let's go back to Bookmap, NQ Futures. All those levels on my chart. Here are the QQQ levels, NDX levels. Looking at levels below. So I believe for QQQ, this 445.13 combo 4 level that we just looked at, I believe that is the lowest spot gamma level. And here for NDX, there's the 18,000 put wall. Looks like that could be in play. And that is down below the lower weekly expected move, this dashed purple line here for NQ right there. That's right on top of 18,150, NQ 18,150. Could be in play, maybe not today, but certainly this week, maybe tomorrow, if this continues. All right, so we'll talk about setups in just a few minutes. Let's wrap up over our positional analysis by taking a look at gamma. Here's market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. Note all these numbers are negative, indicating again, traders are long puts, market makers are short puts. They have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. And note though some of those numbers did shift higher, some lower than yesterday, but still negative. Let's take a look at a current view, real-time view of gamma. This is the trace tool available to Spotgamma subscribers. Red shading shows negative gamma, low stability index, although it does look a little bit higher than it was this morning, but most of the day until the big drop at 130. SPX was trading in this range of negative gamma that's shown by the red shading as well as the GEX bars on the left. And it looks like there is some positive gamma potential support down below. You can see the pocket of positive gamma here with the put wall, 5200 put wall right in the middle. Again, potential target. Maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow if this price action continues. All right, that's the current view of trace. All right, let's talk about some setups now. And there were some great short setups this morning. I'm going to start with the S&P 500. And as always, I'm going to start by taking a look at what options traders have been doing today. This is the Hero indicator. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. And this is Hero is hedging impact real-time options. This is showing what options traders have been doing today, a market maker hedging flow. This is the S&P 500 index signal. This is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the components of the S&P 500 index components, SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. Let's zoom in on this just a little bit. And what this is showing is a very nice divergent short in the morning. Initially, for the first maybe 10 minutes, traders were taking positive delta positions, buying calls and selling puts. That reversed, looks like right around 937, 938. Nice entry point there, nice divergent short setup right after the cash open. Let's take a look at the other signal that, for the S&P 500. This is the S&P 500 index signal, even more clear short setup this morning. So what this is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for the all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index. Again, a very nice divergence short. Price rising. Traders taking negative delta options positions. And the S&P 500 breaks lower. Nice entry point right around 942. So let's go to Bookmap and take a look at that. I'm going to zoom in. This will take just a moment. Let's zoom in. Actually, to about right here. All right, so here we go. And I'd already drawn this trend line. So that was from previous overnight price action. ES was already making a series of higher lows. So with that divergent short setup, ES bumps up against that trend line, and green volume dots getting smaller. Buyers are exhausted. ES makes a lower high. Resistance levels here with this first test, and then more resistance at the 53.50. Nice entry point, kind of a head and shoulders pattern here. Lower high entry point. Aggressive sellers starting to come in. You can see the magenta volume dots, and price breaks lower as traders are taking negative delta options positions in both the S&P 500 index components and the S&P 500 equities. And that was a very nice short setup. Everything pointing to a short. Resistance levels, downtrend line, break at resistance levels, aggressive sellers coming in, and again, hero signal leading price lower. So that is the S&P 500 short setup just after the cash open. All right, let's zoom back out. We'll take a look at the current market in just a few minutes. All right, so price did break above that level, break above the downtrend. I'm going to tone down the heat map a bit so we can see the price action more clearly. And ES did break above that downtrend line briefly. Made it all the way up to ES 5400. Let's see what options traders are doing then. Setting up this peak pattern here. And it was more clear on the S&P 500. That's more clear on the S&P 500 index. So this is the equity signal we're looking at now. Let's go to the S&P 500. Very nice peak pattern here. Flow alert signals significant options activity, gets your attention, and signals a potential reversal in hedging flow from bullish to bearish. That's exactly what happened. Very nice short setup, and then just continuation of the move down, especially after Powell started speaking. Let's shift to puts and calls. And pretty close correlation between calls shown with the orange line, puts shown with the blue line. That's the index signal. Let's go to equities. Traders have been selling calls all day. Looks like they were selling puts for a while. But the put line shifted back to negative delta bearish, right around 1140 or so. And then the price started to move lower again. Now that's only accelerated. All right, so that's the S&P 500. And then let's take a look now. Let me go back to the total signal. Let's go to NASDAQ. I'm going to zoom in on this. All right, so this is a very clear short in the morning. Very nice divergent short setup. Hero signal moving down from the open. A little bit of move higher in price, then reverse lower. That's the NASDAQ index signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for NDX and QQQ. Let's go to Mag 7. And just like the S&P 500 equity signal, which is actually closer to the Mag 7 plus 493, this divergent short setup. Traders taking negative delta options positions right from the open, and price follows about maybe 12 minutes later, something like that. Setting up a short. All right, let's go take a look at NQ in Bookmap. All right, so compared to the price action that started at 130, this move lower is kind of trivial just after the cash opens. So there it is. Then the reversal here just before 11:30, then the breakdown at 1:30. All right, back to Hero. So again, you can see the acceleration at 1:30. So already trending down and then accelerates lower at 1:30 as Powell starts speaking. Let's take a quick look at some stocks, then we'll get to live market. All right, first stock I want to take a look at is Apple. Bearish opening drive, another divergent short setup. Very nice reversal at the 200 hedge wall, put wall. Again, bearish from the open. Divergent short, bearish opening drive. Let's go to Apple. There's that reversal at the hedge wall, put wall, 200. As traders were taking negative delta options positions from the open, again setting up a very nice divergent short, bearish opening drive. Next stock, Amazon. All right, so it looks like Powell saying higher inflation, weaker growth is challenging scenario. And let's go to Hero. So Amazon did try to recover. Another bearish divergence. Traders taking negative delta options positions from the open, setting up a nice short here. And then options traders did try to take Amazon higher. And Amazon made a very nice call peak right around 11:25. Again, Hero flow alert signals significant options activity and a potential reversal in hedging flow from positive delta to negative delta. That's exactly what happened. Now Amazon trading down, lows of the day. And that's Amazon trending down again, just like everything else, trending down below VWAP and then breaks lower at 130. Next stock, Meta. Choppy in the morning. Let's go to Hero. Another divergent short. Traders taking negative delta options positions from the open. Price moves higher, then reverses lower, and chopped around quite a bit. Then dropping sharply lower. And the drop in Meta began before Powell was speaking. A couple of peak patterns there. Nice short entries for Meta. Nice trend break there below VWAP, below the 510 level. down to 500, which is the put wall for Meta. 500 put wall. Let's take a look at Microsoft. Bearish opening drive in Microsoft. Again, options traders taking negative delta positions from the open. And Microsoft breaks down below the 380 put wall. Tried to recover, but again, breaking down. Let's go to Bookmap. Bearish opening drive. Breaks down below the 380 level. Tries to recover, then break down below VWAP. And then again, the sharp breakdown at 130. And finally, let's take a look at NVIDIA, then we'll get to the live market. NVIDIA, of course, in the center of price action today. Bearish from the open. Very nice, clean, steady downtrend. I want to turn on market pulse price change for NVIDIA. It'll take that just a minute to load. While that's loading, let's take a look at Hero. Again, bearish divergence at the open. Options traders getting it right, taking negative delta options positions at the open. Price moves up. Options traders again buying puts, selling calls. Price reverses lower. And they've been taking negative delta options positions all day. Let's see what they've been doing. They've been selling calls from the open. They were buying puts. It looks like some put sellers came in for a while. But right now, starting around 1140, traders have been buying puts and selling calls. Blue line, orange line moving the same direction, and that is bearish. All right, back to Bookmap. And what I wanted to point out with the market pulse price change is it helps to mark the deeper pullbacks for shorts. And you can see how looking at the extremes, that's just a confirmation of a deeper pullback for a short entry. All right, let's go back to the S&P 500 now. Any questions? Does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? All right, so Slow Darazi says ES little bounce. Looks like some aggressive buyers are coming in. You can see the rising cumulative volume delta. Also the green volume dots. Let's see what options traders are doing. Excuse me. Let's go to Hero for the index first. All right, so it looks like that has flattened out a little bit. Let's shift to puts and calls. So it looks like there are some put sellers coming in for just the last few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. And the call sellers have taken the foot off the gas. All right, back to the total signal. And Slotarazi asked, how do you remember which way around if people are buying puts or selling puts? So the direction of the hero signal indicates options delta. So a rising hero signal indicates positive delta positions. So that would be buying calls and selling puts. And a falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta options positions. That would be buying puts and selling calls. So just look at the direction of the lines. So let's shift back to puts and calls. So here traders were selling calls. Then the call sellers have taken the foot off the gas. They were buying puts. And the put buyers have taken the foot off the gas. Looks like some traders now were taking advantage of the drop in price, increase implied volatility to sell puts. Let's see if we can see any evidence of that and trace. And it may take a few more minutes. So trace is updated every 10 minutes. So what I'm watching over here is these GEX bars. And let's see, actually, let's watch those GEX bars as we step through the last half hour. All right, so market makers' position, especially here at 52.25, is becoming more positive, meaning market makers are long puts and traders are selling puts, they're short puts. Now that all of a sudden disappeared as 1410, as the trace gamma heat map jumped to the next 10-minute interval. So watch this bar right here, 52.25. Traders are selling puts. Now that dropped off. Let's go back and take a look at Hero. Yeah, shift to puts and calls. And I think that may be evident in what Hero's showing. Traders are briefly selling puts. Then they took the foot off the gas. Let's take a look at the equity signal, then we'll get back to Bookmap. I'm going to shift to total. So traders were selling puts. Actually, let's go back to the put and call. Call sellers have slowed down. Looks like selling puts in stocks now. Go back to total. Let's go back to Bookmap. See if that is holding. So it looks like the SPY 524, just around our level, so far acting as support. And that is below the SPY 525 put wall. And it looks like this. Downtrend line was broken. Now ES forming a slight uptrend. Zoom in on this a little bit more. Looks like some large traders are coming in to buy this. The light blue line is showing iceberg orders. Rising light blue line indicates large traders are buying with iceberg orders they use to hide their size. Let's go back and check Hero. Here's the equity signal. Looks like maybe getting a little bit weaker. Check the index signal. Back to Bookmap. All right, so it looks like this uptrend has broken. Any questions, comments? Anything you want to take a look at? Let's go to NASDAQ, take a look at NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ, little uptrend broken. Now resistance around 328. Heat map is showing some sellers at 325. Now they pulled their orders at 325. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to Mag 7. So the Mag 7 signal, definitely also that little uptrend that began around 2 has broken down. Check the NASDAQ index signal. Also now moving lower. So according to this, I would be looking for a short. Looks like that set up a little bit of a divergent short here, with the hero signal starting to move lower. Before price. And let's see if the aggressive buyers can move price higher. Omar, welcome. Glad you're here. Would you be able to clarify the use of SPX gamma? Not sure what you mean by that. I've been talking about SPX gamma all day, all during my webinar. So if you missed my introduction, I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price. And that certainly applies in the case of SPX to the ES futures, which are a derivative of SPX. So price often reacts at spot gamma levels, high levels of gamma, and then again, price corresponds to options trades in SPY and SPX, especially. That is the case again for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and large cap tech stocks, especially the Mag 7 stocks that we took a look at. Let me darken up the heat map. Let's go take a look at Omar. Let me know if that was not clear, or if you have more, maybe a more specific question. Let's see if options traders are coming back in. Yeah, it looks like they are. That's NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the S&P 500 equities. S&P 500, maybe trying to form a bottom here. Back to Bookmap. And Slodarazi said Powell has finished speaking, so maybe that's it. All right, so it looks like on this trend break, some buyers were in. These are limit buy orders in the order book at 52.95, and ES found support at that level with those buyers. Made a higher low at the put wall, 525 put wall. Let's go check hero and trace again. At this time of day, when there's so much accumulated information in the hero signal, it's often more difficult compared to the beginning of the day to get a lot of useful information, especially in the short term here. Let's take a look at trace. See if we can get any additional information from charm pressure, for example. So still in the red, selling pressure zone due to time decay. Back to gamma. So I think the main thing here is this pocket of positive gamma helping to support the market. Slightly blue shading. All right, back to Bookmap. All right, pull back to SPY 525 put wall, then the SPX 5275 support level. Cumulative volume delta rising. So traders continue to buy. Just want to take a look and see where ES may be going. So there's some limit sell orders up above at 53.20. That's right above the SPY 527 level. Looks like a little bit of a stop run there, buy stop orders. Fueling that move higher, that's shown by the rising yellow line. So we'll see if they make it to that 53.20 liquidity. And QQQ Trader asks, "Where's your POC?" Let's watch this. Then I'll zoom out and see if we can find the point of control. Looking for a move into 53.20 liquidity there. Those are limit sell orders in the order book. And let's take a quick look at Hero. There's Trace. Moving back up into the red negative gamma up above. Let's go to Hero on the equities. Equity signal flattening out a little bit. Index signal. Also still overall pretty flat. Now the aggressive buyers have taken their foot off the gas, as well as the buy stop orders. And net large traders that were buying that weakness have now stopped. So right now, cumulative volume delta and buy stop orders flat, and overall iceberg orders falling down. At least for the moment, it looks like this little uptrend is kind of losing steam. Let's zoom out, get a bit bigger picture, and then QQQ Trader wants to take a look at POC. And most likely it's going to be well above here. Yeah, it is. Here's POC up right around 53.60. That is this dark solid purple line right there. And of course, that is due to the price action being during this session mostly above the current levels. All right, more sellers coming in at 53.20 and price breaking down. Some buyers coming in at 5,300 as this move higher starts to lose steam. And let's do one last check of Hero here. So this is the S&P 500 index signal showing that options traders really weren't coming in to support much of a move higher. Same for equities. S&P 500 equities. Really only lasted about 15 minutes. All right, last call for questions, comments. All right, everyone, remember tomorrow options expiration, put dominated options expiration. Of course, news is really driving price more than anything in the current market. Then holiday weekend. Everyone have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Thanks for watching. I'll again have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye.